So what happened? The government bought it and still does, bought it in a monopoly. You and I are not allowed to buy it. So the government had a monopoly on buying it, bought a bunch of doses. At least that got the production ramped up. But then there was nobody around to think about logistics. How are we going to get it out? There was a lot of thinking about rationing schemes, about who gets it, but nobody really thought about logistics. So we lost another month or two in the battle between bureaucracy, evolution, and exponential growth. Time is of the essence. Let me remind you, there are new evolution wants to do is find new variants that are resistant to vaccine. And exponential growth wants to grow exponentially. So, waiting a month or two is always very dangerous. And then spent all this time without really having a clue about how this was going to get from factories into arms with incredibly complex rationing. Not just was it a rationing scheme, an incredibly complex rationing scheme. Yes, old people first, healthcare workers first, but then long, complicated schemes, including all sorts of equity considerations. Now, again, the basic conceptual problem was this was about protecting people and about transferring income, not about stopping the spread of the disease. I remember hilariously, the UK's first patient was a 91-year-old woman, very charming woman. Germany's was a 101-year-old woman, again, very charming, but not very likely to go out to a bar and give it to somebody else. And in fact, protectable by just having their healthcare workers be vaccinated or wear PPE equipment. And giving it for free is interesting. This isn't that expensive. It's $2, $5. Old people are nice, but they're not all poor. It's not clear why the amounts of money that we're arguing over here are trivial compared to the $5 trillion that our government has spent handing out checks on the economic basis. It's really funny how much of this goes around to, why don't old people have to pay for it? Well, we want to make it easier for them. It's about giving them access to protect them without having them pay for it. But so I do think what would have worked here was a market on top, allowing us to buy the vaccine. We have to remember the vaccine. This is not a disease that will come and only the vaccine will save your life. This is a technology for not getting the disease, and there's an alternative: stay home.
Yep.
So the vaccine
it's working for me so far.
Yes,
I'm nervous. I'm still uneasy, but so far so good.
Well, we are lucky that we can do our jobs by Zoom. Most people are not so lucky.
Correct.
So most people really want the vaccine as licensed to go out. It's licensed to go out, and people who got to work for a living need to go out. Now, if you're allowed to buy it, so what happens? In the first doses, they go to people whose time out is really valuable, the CEOs, the rich, the fat cats. So, if the first week or so they pay $500 to get it. And normal people say, I'll spend another week at home. Then the price goes down to $100, and employers already would love to buy this for their employees. Whole Foods at $50 a shot would say, yeah, I'm buying it. I'm giving it to all my employees so that they can restock it. But Whole Foods isn't allowed to make that decision. Even if you're just protecting people, which means even if you're buying licenses to go out, that's an economic decision. And the government's rationing rules are just not even thinking about. We're buying an economic commodity. We're buying people being able to go out and earn their livings. Teachers should be getting it, and schools should be willing to pay the market price to get teachers to get it, because teachers going back to work means kids can go to school and their parents can go back to jobs. Healthcare workers in a totally free market, of course, healthcare workers would have been first. Why? Because hospitals would have found it completely worth their while to pay whatever the price is to get their healthcare workers vaccinated to make sure they're in there. In fact, hilariously, I just read this morning, the people who make the vaccines are not allowed to give the vaccines to their own employees and are now having a big problem because their employees are getting sick